Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. It's been a long time. It's been 2 weeks. I went on my holiday to Tenerife. We are back. I'm sure a lot of people have wondered where these episodes have gone, and we have got so much news to talk about, so many transfers, team news. So we're going to crack straight into it. Dan, firstly, how are you? You all right? We've got so much to go into.
I'm doing all good. Hope you had a good
Awesome.
holiday.
Yeah, it was all right. It was a good little trip with the boys, and the sun was good as well. So that's always a
Don't beat New
bonus.
York
But
though, does it?
no, it's not New York. I want to get back to New York or Canada ASAP. We do have an interview with Tate Shudra, which we're going to be doing tomorrow. So that should be a pretty cool interview. I think this is going to come out on Thursday because we're doing the interview quite late tomorrow. And we're recording quite late tonight. It's 10 o'clock. Charlie, you doing all right? Sorry, I forgot to ask.
I'm good. I'm good. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers on the
Yeah,
Stanley Cup. A
Uh,
well-deserved win.
it was, yeah.
And yeah, it was a good series. That was Edmonton proved me wrong slightly. But didn't quite get the cup. So shout out to the Panthers fans. And Colorado still on top.
Shut up, man. Nah, I'm proud of the Edmonton boys. I admit I did cry. I was on the balcony in Tenerife in Game 7. The Oilers threw everything at it, but the Panthers put on a defensive clinic. And when I saw McDavid crying, it set me off, and I actually did start crying. So I got my Oilers shirt behind me. We go again next year. The team is looking good already. But let's head over to the NIHL teams and the rosters. I'm just going to go in order of what I've put in my notes because I put every transfer in the notes, and we're going to start with Charlie's favorite player, and that is Nick Oliver to the Telford Tigers again. What a beast. He's signing back with Telford. And one thing, Charlie, which comes to mind when I see Nick Oliver is that lethal slap shot he's got.
Slapperoni. He's a unique hockey player. He's not your stereotypical hockey player, but he does a job. He gets a lot of stick from fans. But he does a good job. He's a decent D man. Nice piece to the Telford lineup. He's a big boy and he can hit a puck hard, and I rate that about Nick Oliver.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's one of them D men which every team would take.
Yeah, I think he's a solid D man, and Danny does all the defensive stuff right, didn't he? And Tom Watkins signs him every season and trusts him.
yeah, that's it. That's what you got in your defense. You got to have them guys you can trust to put out there in them situations, so you know you're going to get with them, and you don't do much wrong.
Yeah, Telford definitely bolstering their squad. Charlie, I'm going to come to you for this one. This is probably your favourite one of all these transfers, and it is our young player of last season. It is Mr. TJ Anderson. He has signed back for the Raiders. He was actually the second signing of the team after Leishram. So that means the duo is back. Charlie, I'll hand it over to you with this one. I know you've pumped his tires so much last season, and you did get it right.
Call me the NIHL Scout of the Year. TJ Anderson's an absolute baller. I was buzzing. I can't lie to not see him in Milton Keynes. I was happy to see him back at Raiders. One because I think Raiders is the perfect move for his development. I don't think there's another team where he will now be trusted. Number one, he was on a line with the coach last year and he thrived on that line. So he's going to have good fun this year. He's going to have some top 6 minutes. I know I've spoken to him recently and we had a good laugh together and he's really excited for the season. I'm hoping to get him on the pod soon. I'm sure he will. And yeah, I think it's just a huge signing for Romford. And I genuinely believe he can hit 40 goals next season. I think he's an unbelievable player. And I generally think if he gets the power play and top line time, which I think he could do, I think the guy can have some fun and enjoy his hockey.
He's definitely going to be one of their big players now, the top players. He proved it last season, Dan. And obviously, with a lot of players leaving the Raiders, another player they did sign, we'll go on to it in a bit. They actually mentioned it yesterday, but he's another key piece to that. But TJ, I assume he's going to be playing on that top line with Leishram again if things go how they were last season. And I can only see him getting better.
Yeah, he's earned that spot from last season. He's just been growing and growing every season.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, he loves playing with Leishram. I'm sure that was a big part of the reason he came back, just to be with him.
Yeah.
And like Charlie said, he's known in Romford covered now. They know what they can do with him. They know what limits he's got, and he can sort of feels comfortable in the place that he is. Me and Charlie hope he gets a bit better NHL, and then we'll have him on again one day, maybe if he gets
Yeah.
if he gets a bit better.
Yeah, I know you boys have been playing some NHL with him. I'm gonna have to jump on that NHL bandwagon. Definitely on next NHL. On to wow, good luck in Romford again, TJ. I know he's gonna smash it. On to one of my dad's favorite players. He actually talked to his dad, and that is Dan Rose, and he's back for the Bees, and he actually played a really important part as the centerman on that second line last season. He's not the most prolific of players, Charlie, but he's that centerman who just does his job at both ends of the ice, and I think he makes everyone else's job much easier to play with.
Yeah, I think he definitely played a high role, and he adapted well in that area. And I think for Beast this year, I think he's a good depth piece. He does his job. He's got a good two-way game. He's good off the draw. He's got a decent penalty kill as well. I believe he played a role in that. So yeah, if he's the third line center this year, maybe second line, I think he'll do another good season. And just to player Bees will enjoy getting back because they do struggle to keep players Bees. So
Yeah.
keeping hold of players is always a good thing.
Yeah, he's someone which could buy trust. I just thought I'd say I've got a Solway Sharks cup. I remember, I know my mum bought this from the Solway Sharks. So yeah, we got some Solway Sharks merch. We are Swindon fans, but
Someone's got to raise the bar.
yeah, we gotta help
Someone's got to
the
raise the
teams in
bar.
our league. Anyways, sorry, back to it. Norcliffe has left the Raiders and he has joined Streatham. We're not going to go into it too much, but Streatham look very good going into next season. They've signed some very good players. And as we've mentioned in last episode, with interviewing Dylan Lipsey, the level of the league, the NIHL one, has improved massively. You've got Connolly going in there as well to Invicta. And the Wildcats too, obviously, is looking pretty tasty. So if you're not going to go to some of those further away games, I definitely watch some of the NIHL one games because I think they're going to be very good next season. On to a player, Dan, for Swindon, and that is Jamie Smith. And he got his breakout year last year. I think he got relied on a lot with Aaron as that third line defenseman, and he was very impressive, wasn't he? And it's great to have him back next season.
Yeah, the second half of the season, you really noticed how much he grew.
Hmm.
He's a big guy. Obviously, indeed, that's really important. He's really good with his stick. He's so composed on the puck.
Yeah.
I think Charlie mentions it nearly every time he has the puck. He's just for his age, he's got such a bright future because of the way he plays. It shows how comfortable he is because of the way Nell uses him. Like he's putting him out there in hard situations. Like he's getting minutes in the playoffs. He's getting minutes against the top teams. He's playing against some top forwards as well. And at that age, and to have the coach have that much faith in you is always going to be good for the confidence.
Yeah.
And he seems to be a really big part of Swindon's D, and he will be for the next few years to come.
I think defensively he's going to have an even bigger role this season because obviously bringing in Ed Bradley, he's quite an offensive defenseman, which I think is what Swindon need. We haven't really had a clear-cut offensive D-man since Sam Jones, but I think this will put a lot more defensive kind of stuff on Jamie Smith. I'm not sure what pairs they're going to play, but if Jamie does play with Ed Bradley, I think that's going to be really interesting to see. So Charlie, I know you're happy with that one. We've spoke about it before. Some really big news was, well, some news which I think a lot of people rumoured, and that is Herman, who left Milton Keynes. Now, there's not been a club which Herman's confirmed to have gone to. There's a lot of people saying he's going to go back to America or Canada. I don't know if he'll sign in the Elite League. We haven't actually spoke to him. I know we've had him on the pod. I'm sure he'll come back on again, Charlie. But that is a big loss of Milton Keynes. That's 60 goals worth, which you've got to try and make up in other players.
Yeah, it is a big loss for them. I think Herman was a brilliant point scorer. At times, I think his two-way game was covered by some other players, but I think Herman was probably one of the most naturally gifted point scorers I've seen in our league. Whenever he attacked, he just looked like he was going to get points. Like whenever he attacked, he scored 2 Michigans. He chirped us. he chirped us during the season. He had a good bit of fun. So
Yeah, I remember that actually. He scored the
Herman,
Michigan and then pointed at us and chirped at us.
Herman was an absolute stud of this league, and he was too good for this league. Like say it how it is. I'd love to see him go abroad because I don't want him in our league. Because he's good unless he played for Swindon. So I'd love to see him get some minutes abroad. Maybe go to the elite league and get a shot there, as long as he's gonna get minutes. But he's an absolute gem of a guy. I think he was really loved in Milton Keynes, and it will be a big loss for them. But I think their recent signing was a good step to replace him.
Yeah, very interesting. We'll go into that in a minute with the big Englishman they've signed. But yeah, I'm sad for Herman that he's gone and sad for the NIHL, but obviously with that little rivalry we have with Milton Keynes, and obviously they're another team who's going to be competing. That is a big player for them to lose, and it will be interesting to see what import they bring in instead of Herman. Will they go with the import D? Will they just go with another import forward? So yeah, I'm very interested. Dan, what do you reckon? Do you think they'll go with an import D, or do you think they're covered enough on D?
Um, it's going to be tough because they have lost a few big parts in their D.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Herman is such a good point scoring forward that you'd almost think they'd go with another import forward to
Like for
make up
like,
for
yeah.
to make up for the points. It will be interesting. I think it all depends on what Brits they can get. Obviously, Tim Wallace will sort of be able to know really what he's got.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will be interesting. It would be interesting to see an import D man in that MK team. I think that would really, really bolster their D, especially obviously we saw what Leeds were like last season with McMullen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting, especially with obviously Headley as well behind him. Yeah, I don't know what way they're going to go, but we'll
Well, you
soon see,
mentioned
I guess.
You mentioned McMullen. That was the next player on my list. He's re-signed for Leeds, and there was a bit of debate on Twitter. I know Matty Davies commented back on my post, and I'd be honest, I'll stand by it. I think as an overall defenseman who's very good, who's good offensively and can also do the defensive work. I think along with Butler. Noah McMullen was probably the best defensive D man we've seen in the league. And he also provided offense. So for me, overall defenseman wise, in my opinion, and everyone can have different opinions, that's absolutely fine. That's what it's all about. I think McMullen was the better defenseman, but offensively, I think Brock was absolutely ridiculous. But McMullen has re-signed. And yeah, again, Charlie Leeds just stacking
Unbelievable
up the
signing.
team,
Like
signing what works,
that how
and
it is it's an unbelievable signing because he is one of them players. Anyone who watched NIHL will kind of know what I mean here. Because our league hasn't been like this for a long time, where basically the offense kills the defense. It's been like that the last couple of seasons in our league. I think Dan will agree. And it almost at times feels like you got to outscore Kieran Brown to beat him. But the thing Leeds did this year, which is the first time I've seen it in our league for a while, is you could put Noah McMullen out when Malazinski's out, and he'd actually do an extremely good job of shutting him down the whole game. And you can go, whenever Malazinski's on the ice, I'm putting Noah McMullen out and he's going to block it. I think if you follow the NHL, whenever Colorado played Dallas, annoyingly for me, they put Tanev out whenever McKinnon was out, and McKinnon didn't get a point. And it feels like McMullen's one of them players where he's just a cheat code. Whenever the top guy of their team's out, you put McMullen out and he just kills them. And that's why that signing is so effective. And when you watch Leeds, if people went next season, when people watch Leeds, watch how the coach will most likely put Noah McMullen out against your best players, and he will shut them down probably 8 games out of 10. Yeah. And it's just something else to watch.
He's a shutdown D, but Dan, he's also shown he can do well offensively. He's been playing on the power play as well, and yeah, it's just scary again for the league that caliber of player has decided to re-sign with Leeds, and I don't blame him because Leeds as an organization is you want to be there, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. It's bringing these import D men. If you can find the right one, they're a cheat code, honestly. Like because it always a saying is like the best offense is the best defense. You know what I mean? Yeah. But because we've never been able to bring those import D men in, it's never really been a thing in our league. It's always been the Brit D men with the import forwards. Forwards would always overscore the defense, and it'd be like that. But bringing in these import D men, and it's the reason why I think a lot of teams, as the seasons go on, will be bringing in these import D men. And if we ever did go up to 4 imports, you'd definitely see every team probably have one.
Yeah.
Is they're so huge and they bring such a different like skill to the defensive core, and it's just such an important thing is just to be able to shut down those top players, because we know in this league that the forwards are a higher caliber than the defense. It's just a
Yeah,
well-known thing.
we said it before the season even started. It's so much harder to get Brit defensemen than Brit forwards because there's just more quality forwards than defensemen. So I
Which
agree
is
with
why which is why players like Jamie Smith, all these young players like Billy
Billy
Thorpe are
Thorpe.
so important, because they are the future of the
Yeah.
British defensemen, and you have to keep hold of these players and keep growing them. You can't just leave them on the bench.
And that's why actually I'm going to say this. That's why you see a lot of these English D men, because the shortage of D men. You look at Sam Jones, Elite League. Hazeldean, he got Elite League. His brother Hazeldean, he's just got Elite League. A lot of these English defensemen or British defensemen are getting chances in the Elite League because I think there is quite a big shortage even in the Elite League as well of British defensemen. So yeah, it's very interesting. But it's a good signing for Leeds, and that completes their import trio: Noah McMullen, Matt Barron, and Matt Bissonette. Yeah,
Yeah, not bad.
that is fantastic. And again, their team, I still think they've got a couple stuff up their sleeve. They still haven't re-signed Hayward yet, and he was a big piece. So that's a big sentiment they possibly need to replace. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what signings they've got left. Another player who left the Raiders is Mikey Power, and again, he's gone into the league below to Chelmsford. And they're quite a physical side, so that definitely suits Mikey Power. And again, just brings the level of that league up. Dylan Lipsey, we couldn't actually leak it on the interview, but he is signed with the Wildcats, so we had to keep that quite a bit. I think a lot of people knew he'd signed. He was playing with the twos, and he's going to be with the main team as well, training with them, playing probably a lot of the home games. So I could actually see Charlie, just quickly on him, I could see him playing a lot of the home games, and then maybe if there's a long trip away, he can play that home game for the Swindon Twos, and that will help his development in the men's league. So he'll get a lot of minutes in that anyway.
I don't know what Aaron's plan is, but I'd let him have a full season in the National One League personally.
Really? Okay.
And then play him when there's no National One League games. There's 36 game season. He's going to be a top 6 forward in that league. He's going to potentially get some power play minutes. And I think it would be really cool opportunity for him to have some responsibility. I think it would be a great opportunity for a lot of them youngsters. And I'm really excited to see how we use the twos, because like it's down to Aaron. If he's going to take Dylan Lipsey to a game and he's going to say, Dylan, I'm going to play you consistent fourth line minutes, and he actually plays the fourth line, I want Dylan Lipsey in my Swindon roster because he's going to get minutes at a National League level. But if he can't give Dylan Lipsey minutes, if he says, Dylan, you're not going to play today's game for the Wildcat main team, play for the Wildcat twos and have fun. That's what I want to see. Like,
yeah, he's still so young as well. He's only just turned 18, so the development's key. And I trust Aaron, and I trust the whole Swindon organisation that they'll be able to handle him well, just like they handled Jamie Smith. So yeah, I'm really hoping this is a big year for Lipsey, Dylan, and the Swindon Twos is going to help that massively. Another big signing for the Raiders is Ralph, and there was a lot of rumours actually that he could possibly go to Milton Keynes as well, because MK needed a D-man, possibly to replace Christie and Green, but he signed with the Raiders again, and he was their main D-man last season, Dan. And he signed back again, and I think this is another really positive signing for Romford.
Yeah, it's again keeping these D-men is so important to these teams. Like again, you know what you're going to get from the guy. He's again he's got his spot in that team. He's comfortable in that team. The fans love him. Obviously, Leishram is obviously keen on having him back. It's just these D-men. I'm sure there's a few more that they're going to want to try and re-sign if they can.
Yeah.
Because they are hard. And maybe they get an import D-man in. Who knows? But yeah, I think he's the first D-man to have re-signed for them so far. So it's not not bad
really got much of a squad yet. So. I'm sure they've. This is a thing, and I've saw this going around on Twitter. Teams will have players signed It's just
Yeah.
when they announce them, and I'm sure Raiders have managed to agree a lot of contracts with players, but it's just announcing them at the right times with the social media and getting that all ready. Because I know a lot of players go on holiday in the summer and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really good positive sign. We've got so many to go through, so sorry if we don't go into your favourite players too much. Bryn, we didn't see him too much last season, but he's a depth. He's a bottom six player for Telford. And he actually played quite a bit at the back end of the season when they had a few injuries. So he's another young player who's gonna hopefully progress a bit this season with Tommy Watkins. Ethan Hare again, another bottom six player for Leeds. I know a lot of people sometimes getting confused with Dylan and Ethan, but Ethan's the forward and Dylan's the defenseman. So Ethan's actually been around since the Chief days, I believe. So he is actually an underrated Leeds legend, I'd say, because anyone who's been around since the Chiefs and you're still going with the Knights, fair play to you. So yeah, he's another depthy player, and those are the kind of players which you need throughout the season. Another player for the Raiders, and he's been one of my favourite players actually. Is Aleph. No, not yet, Charlie. So we'll get on to Mr. Sue in a minute, but it is Brandon Aleph.
What an
And
idiot.
I love him. I think he's arguably one of the quickest players, if not the quickest, on a breakaway. The amount of breakaway goals I've seen him score against Swindon, where he just nicks it and runs away. Yeah, I think that's a really good signing again, Charlie, for the Raiders, because again, he's a lot of there's not too many like outright pacey players who actually know how to put the puck in the net.
Yeah, he's got a nice dad too. I met his dad. He's really
Oh
nice.
yeah, he's yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a good player. Quick, good penalty killer. Always scores against Swindon as well.
Yeah, he's played for the Raiders a long time as well, so I'm glad he signed back there. Another depthy player, or who can play on the top lines if needed, is Lucas Price, and he certainly made himself a presence. Pardon me, last season, Dan. A very physical player, will not back out of hits, and is not afraid to drop the gloves, is he?
No, he's not. He was a bit unlucky with injuries last season. I think he was out for pretty much half the back end of the whole season. I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he did, but I'm sure he's going to be hoping for an injury-free season. I think. Yeah, Tom might put him on a third line, maybe
Yeah.
just to throw a bit of a forecheck, throw the body, just don't stop skating, just spar it up a little bit, maybe send him out in the time they need a bit of momentum going. He can definitely shift the momentum. Players like that are so important as well to the team that will just fire up the team and do whatever they can to gain a bit of momentum. And you know what Telford are like when they gain a bit of momentum as well. They're
Yeah,
pretty
especially in their own
dangerous. So
building.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think a player like that is so key to a team. He might not get you all the points, but the stuff that he probably does in the dressing room and obviously puts his body on the line for the team is so big.
I think having a teammate you know who will stick up for you if you're on the ice, maybe you're not the strongest of players or the most physical. If you've got a Lucas Price next to you who'll fight your battles for you, then that's not too bad going. The other news, which isn't a signing, but is a team signing, and that is the Leeds Knights have a team in the NIHL 1. I haven't heard of a lot of the players actually. But I think it's just positive that they've got a team in the NIHL 1 in the North League. And it's another system for Leeds to kind of build their youngsters through. And because of the success they've had, I'm sure they might get a lot of attraction with players possibly joining them in the future. So that's never a bad thing, seeing a new team in the North, such as Leeds, in such a nice rink as well, which they're going to be playing in. So yeah, one thing it does do though is it makes the schedules really interesting with how having the main team and the ones as well. So yeah, on to the big one, Charlie, you were on about earlier, and that is Mr. Jordan Cowney signing for Milton Keynes. He was rumored to a couple of teams, but that is absolutely massive for MK, isn't it, Charlie? Especially with the news of that was going. He's getting 20, 30 points a season in the Elite League, and he's decided to drop down to Milton Keynes.
Yeah, they signed so many good players. They're very good. They're like Leeds. They just each year you're like, ah. But yeah, Jordan County would be a great addition to the National League. Like top player. I'm expecting 80 points from him.
At least.
He's
Mhm.
a top Brit at this level. He's done well in his Elite League career. I think he's 28.
Yeah.
they really have got the real deal in him. And adding a Brit like that to your forward core means you could go for an import D man if you felt that.
Yeah, he can make up those points, 100%.
He's not going to get Herman points, but he offers something different to Herman. He may be more of a two-way player than Herman. We've seen in Venus. It's a really good two-way game. Not that I'm saying Herman's two-way game's bad, but I think he's more offensive minded than most. So I think Jordan County gives MK options, all out firepower, import forward, import. It's just an unbelievable signing. He get on pretty much any team's top line.
Yeah, he is.
You can't deny the class of that signing. It's a cheat code of a signing.
He used to play for Milton Keynes, so I'm sure that had a little bit of sway in his decision. And who wouldn't want to play if you're going to drop down to our league? Who wouldn't want to play for Milton Keynes? They get the most fans. It is booming in there, and yeah, it's such a good signing and fair play to him. And it's good for the National League. From a National League point of view, it's good to be able to welcome a player like Jordan County into the league. The league format is the same. It is the same. Just 10 games for the cup, though. So last season, you had your home and away game against every single team, which was 20 games. This year, it's literally 10 games, 5 home, 5 away, and whoever's the top 4 out of those 11 teams will go through to the semi-final of the cup. And me and Charlie were talking, and out of them 10 games, Dan, would you probably agree you have to win probably 6 or 7 of them to finish in that top 4 at least?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think you're right with that.
And the point system
It's too late for that.
The point system's the exact same. There's a couple rumors, and it has happened in the NIHL 1-2, where if you win in regulation, you get 3 points. This is in the NIHL 1 and NIHL 1 and NIHL 2. This is what it is in that. Ours hasn't changed, but in theirs it is if you win in regulation, you get 3. If you win in overtime, you get 2. If you lose in overtime, you get 1. And if you lose, you obviously get 0. So it's a bit more incentive to try and win it in regulation because you get that extra point in case you win it in overtime. So yeah, it's interesting. Charlie, would you want to see that in our league possibly, or would you rather it stay as it is with the 2 points and the
What
1
do they do
point?
in the NHL, Dan?
They do the 2 points.
Yeah, it's the same.
What do you mean?
Same as our league.
Yeah, keep it the same.
Score off the NHL.
We're pretty much the NHL anyway.
I think it would make it interesting. There'd be a lot more points up for grabs for winning in regulation. And it would, yeah, I guess it gives you more an incentive, but I like how ours is. Keep it how it is. It still evens itself out at the end.
If it ain't broke.
Huh?
If it ain't broke.
Don't fix it.
Thank you.
There we go.
Don't try and fix it, isn't it?
Let's
I don't know what the saying is.
Let's focus on the problems we have in the league, and let's not focus on the things which are working.
Yeah, exactly. And the playoff format is the same as well. I enjoyed it last season. I think a lot more people enjoyed it as well. Yeah, it creates a bit more.
I want to see a 7-game series. Bring it on.
Yeah, I would love that.
Oh yeah, the dream would be a 7-game series, three rounds.
Second v.
That would be unreal.
Third v thing, and then mate, we'll do 3-round series.
Charlie, it's never going to happen.
Stop their jobs.
We can never do that. We can't even have competent rinks to be able to keep teams alive, let alone have a 7-game series rotating at the different rinks out a season.
It's not that far. Only a 2-hour coach.
What are you going to say, Dan? What was that?
Never say never.
Maybe they don't even do it in the elite league. I don't see it happening. Anyways,
we're
Charlie,
NHL. Just take out the I, and we're NHL.
Shut up, man. Right, another Raiders signing, and it is not Sylvester yet. It's Ethan James. He's signed as the goalie. I think we all saw that one coming. Ethan is a Romford. Well, he's not a Romford lad, but he's been playing for Romford for many years, and he gets better every season, doesn't he, Dan?
Yeah, he does. He's he's really good. When he's on it, he's definitely on it. Like we saw it in Swindon last season.
When he's on it, every game he plays against Swindon?
Yeah, well. He seemed to be on it against Swindon, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know. But Yeah, he is a really good goalie. He's a guy that's been around the league obviously quite a while now, like you said. He sort of knows who he's coming up against. He knows his shooters. And yeah, he is another goalie that really thrives off momentum. Once you get him settled into a game, he's very, very solid in that.
Yeah, he can make 40 saves in a game, and if he's proper warmed up and the defense looks after him. And Charlie,
He's
I
so
actually think,
quick as well.
yeah, he is. He's very quick at moving about, and that's why I was going to say I think he's really good. He's one of the best goalkeepers I've seen on penalty shots. He is so good in a penalty shootout. And obviously, Romford beat Swindon in that shootout in the playoffs, the Leishram and the Ethan James show. So, yeah, he's back signed in Romford. They're kind of building the team back up a bit. But as I
Yeah,
said,
peppered.
they've probably
Like
got lots of contracts sorted. What did you say, Charlie?
James is going to get peppered this year. Like there is going to be games where he's
Yeah.
going to get peppered. Romford aren't going to be as good as last year. Maybe they prove me wrong, and fair play if they do. But I think Ethan James has got a big year where he's going to have a lot of shots on him, and he's going to have a big responsibility.
Yeah, yeah, he is going to get a lot of shots on. I don't know if they will have the squad as they did last season, but it's part of their rebuild again. Another young lad who's re-signed is Callum Field to Milton Keynes. He hasn't really been given a top six or even a top nine role really within the team. Dan, do you think he's going to get given a bit more of an opportunity this season?
Um, I don't know really. I think because I said to you boys when he signed it, I said he does the role and he does it well.
Yeah.
I think where he is now, I think it's sort of the perfect slot for him. To be honest, I think he's rotating between that fourth and third line, just sort of giving the big boys a rest, getting them out there. He gets in front of the net, gets into the dirty areas. He's obviously got the size on him. He's got that long reach. Um, but yeah, I think where he is now, I think it's quite a good slot for him, and I'm sure they'll just carry on with that. To be honest.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential. He scored quite a few goals against Swindon actually, and he's a skilled player. I think he's a very tall player. I think, yeah, I just think he needs to be given a bit more of opportunity, but maybe he'll get that as he gets older because he is still so young. So, yeah, another re-signing for Milton Keynes. I put Lucas Price on here. I've put him twice. So, yeah, Lucas Price has re-signed. The next one, Charlie. Peterborough have completed their decor. Actually, no, they've still got someone they could possibly sign. But no, I'm going to try and pronounce this.
Oh,
Nodrus
this guy.
Venskutanis. I think I pronounced that right. 17-year-old. He is signed with the Peterborough Phantoms. Yeah, Charlie, I'm getting him up now. He's 17 years old, 6'2". He's played obviously in Dundee, and that's why he's counts as a Brit. But then he went and played in Finland, and now he's back with Peterborough. So he is Lithuanian slash Great Britain. Charlie, what are you expecting from him? It's kind of a bit of the unknown, isn't it?
I haven't got any expectations. Um, we'll see. He's a very unknown player. I'm sure he'll be good. He's under Slava. I think he'll develop over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a good sign. By the way, they haven't finished their decoy yet. Scott Robson is yet to resign.
Yeah, he has. That's what I mean. That he hasn't signed, but we don't know 100% if he is because we don't know. So we'll have to see if Scott Robson does. But that would mean I think they possibly have 70. So be interesting to.
They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the moment.
Oh, okay, my bad. My bad. I'll hold my hands up then. That would make 60. But no, just Fen Scutternis. He looks like an interesting one. And Dan, as you said earlier with Jamie, he's a tall D man. This guy's tall as well, 6'2". So yeah, as Charlie said, it's a bit of the unknown. But he's going to be developing under Slava. So there's no coach really you'd rather want to develop under as a young defenseman than Slava
Well, he
Kulikov.
could take
So
this league on and he could absolutely stud it out. And you could be like, this is the best 17-year-old D man I've ever seen. Or he could take a bit of time to find his feet and then really start to go. So, like, we don't really know what to expect.
one thing is, he has played in Finland, so he's played in Europe, and I know Slava loves the Europe players, but he hasn't gone with a European player, which we'll go into in a minute. The next player is Brett Shepherd. He's re-signed for the Bees. Dan, I don't think he'll be the starter. He wasn't the starter goalie last year. Obviously, he was the backup for Priest. And I assume he'll be the backup to whoever they sign this season, whether that's an import goalie or a Brit. But when he come in, I thought he did an all right job. And he's just a backup you're going to have in the team, and obviously goodbye's gone with him.
Yeah, he's not a bad backup to be fair. I think when I've seen him come in, I don't think he's done an all right job. I don't think he's done anything bad. Obviously, it's always tough if you're a backup and you're coming into a game, say when you're 7 goals down or something like that. It's always going to be tough going into a game like that. But he started the preseason games against Swindon. Um, I know the defense was really solid in those games, but I think Brett Shepherd, he's not a bad backup in this league. He can definitely perform when he needs to.
Yeah.
He's still young as well, so he's still got a lot to work on. I'm sure he's going to work on that this summer. But yeah, he's as backups come, he's not a bad one at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Padalecki. Padalecki has left the Peterborough Phantoms, and it's fair to say, I think he is probably gone for good now in terms of going to Peterborough and coming back. And what a legend Padalecki has been to the NIHL. He obviously has ended it on a high. I'm just getting his sorry. Yeah, there we go. Ales Padalecki. Yeah, I think it is the right time for him to call it. He's 44 years old. He's an absolute veteran of the National League. He's played for Peterborough. He played for them 5 seasons. He then left to Czech, and then he come back for another 3 seasons. What a legend. Shout out to Padalecki. Charlie, do you have anything to say on Padalecki?
He ended his career. Wow, I don't know if he's ended his career.
Well, no, it didn't say he'd retired, actually, so he might still play at 44.
So he has ended his Peterborough Phantoms journey with a playoff trophy. Putting in an absolute shift in the final. Being the underdogs as he has been his whole Phantoms career. He's a very big Phantoms legend, and I think one day he will be on that Phantoms bench with Slava as his assistant.
Ooh, wow. Big little prediction from Charlie, but even if he's not, he's still a legend for Peterborough. Be interesting to see if they retire his jersey. But 8 seasons there, and he's won the trophies he has. I could see it happening, but either way, hopefully, Padalecki, whether he retires or not, has a good retirement, or he finds another team and smashes it up there. And he's been a servant for this league and the Peterborough Phantoms, and they have replaced him, Dan, with a Canadian forward slash defenseman, which is what you told me, Charlie. Cameron Hugh. Now he is 6'2", and yeah, he looks pretty decent. He's obviously had the year in the U Sports as well. Yeah, again, like, it's such an unknown, Dan, isn't it, with these Canadian imports, because that normally they're pretty good, but they could either stud it out, as Charlie says, or they can just be like at the 50, 60 point mark.
Yeah, I think he's played on the same team as Gomesick did as well.
Okay.
I think he's played with him before. Obviously, we saw what Gomesick did in this league.
Yeah.
The fact he's a forward slash defenseman tells me that he's probably got a good two-way game.
Yeah.
I think obviously, we know Slava loves to have those imports that can obviously prioritize defense over offense. He's obviously a big guy. He's played in youth sports, maybe be able to throw the body around. He's definitely going to be an interesting one. I think he's just going to be a all-rounded big Canadian guy. Maybe a bit of old school hockey in there, which Peterborough fans will probably love, because I don't think they've had a Canadian guy in that team for quite a few seasons now. I can't remember the last time they had a Canadian. But yeah, it'll be interesting. He's just, like you say, he's one of them guys that you just don't know what you're going to get until you see him.
What a little nugget for you. I've just looked now. He's played on the same team as Jason Robertson from the Dallas Stars back when he played in the OHL. So, yeah, a little nugget for you there. But Charlie, you said he looks pretty decent. I think he's going to fit in with Slava, obviously being able to play in forward and defenseman. And obviously he was he was in the France 2 league last season. He got 16 points in 13 games, which is not bad going. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Greatest import ever to play in the National League.
Who?
Martinek.
We're not going to go.
Balaz also came from that league, yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think it'll be I think he'll work under Slava. I think Slava's good at getting the best out of players. and he's only 23 as well, which we haven't mentioned, I don't think.
Yeah,
So
he's
Is
still
he?
young.
Is he only 23?
he's going to be hungry. And
Yeah,
he's
he's
going to
23. Oh, and yeah, Peterborough got it wrong on their statement. Peterborough said he was 24 years old. So unless Elite Prospects is wrong, I think he's only 23 years old. So yeah,
Maybe he's turning 24.
I think
maybe. Who
I
knows?
think for Peterborough, I think it's big the fact they've got a younger import because I think they have got some of their top end players, Ferrara, Lakanen, and some of the other boys. They're slightly on the older age. To have some extra added speed into that team adds another dynamic.
It'll be interesting to see what lines they play now. Obviously, bringing in Salem. Salem's one you missed, Charlie. But Salem, Bjorkley, Nordstrom, Mitchell King, Ferrara, Lakanen. Are they going to re-sign Duncan Spears? Like, they've got some decent little options they can go for now. So, yeah, very, very interesting stuff coming out of
They've got
Peterborough.
some good depth.
Yeah, they
Very
do.
good
They
depth.
do have some good depth.
They're
Let's
building a
go on
solid
to
squad.
Bristol's import, and this is looking like a pretty interesting one. Nick Price, 25 years old, 6 foot. He had 4 years out, but he also played in the OHL. And another little nugget, Gadjovic, who just won the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers, he played on the same team as him, and Nick Suzuki as well from the Montreal Canadiens. So he played with them in the OHL. But Charlie, you were quite hopeful of this one actually, and I think he'll do pretty decent in the National League.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll do well. He came from the Swedish third division,
Yeah,
which is the same division Sobchak came from. Dan told me it's one of them divisions where a lot of Canadians may go to break into Europe.
yeah,
It's a skilled division. He did decent with points there, similar to Sobchak when he was
yeah.
there.
19 points.
And I think he looks like he's going to have some fun in the National League.
I think he's going to be a goal scorer. That's my little prediction. He's seemed to get goals wherever he goes, and in Sweden he got more goals than assists. So I think he's definitely going to be one of the goal scorers at Bristol, and I think he's going to have a massive role there in Bristol. And I think Bristol are going to improve, but we'll go into that. I think when we do our little predictions or our Bristol episode. Another import who re-signed, and I thought he'd already signed with the Solway Sharks again because he'd been in their promotional videos and stuff before it got announced. But John Dunbar raised the bar. He is back with the Solway Sharks. I think that's a very important signing. They needed him to come back. And I think it's the second season. He's had a season now, Dan, so we could see an even more improvement in the points as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a playmaker. Like the amount of assists he got last season was unreal. Um, Again, they haven't really. We're still waiting for them big signings from Solway and their sort of
Yeah.
offense.
They've
Um,
re-signed a lot of players, haven't they? They haven't
yeah,
made any big new ones yet.
it'll be interesting who they sort of pair Dunbar up with, because obviously you had that Dunbar and Peacock and Gardner line that really worked well. Obviously, I'm sure Solway fans will be hoping that Gardner does come back. For myself, I'm also hoping he does too. Um, but yeah, it will be interesting to put Dunbar with. If you put Dunbar with an absolute sniper, you've got a little perfect hand in hand pair in there,
Yeah.
because Dunbar will get it into the dirty areas. He'll get the puck back, and then he'll just feed it through to the sniper, who will just snipe it every time.
But you do have Alderson, you've got Callie Robertson as well, who they may change the lines a bit because they don't have some of the players they had last season. So be interesting to see what Grubb does with the team. The last couple, I'm actually going to save Sylvester till last, Charlie. So Jonathan Kirk has announced, oh wow, Sheffield have announced that he's back. And I think that's very, very big because we had a few predictions that he could possibly go to Hull. Because obviously he's played at Hull before, he's played with Hewitt, he's played with Matty Davies before, but he has decided to re-sign with the Steeldogs, and he's going to be the captain of the Steeldogs as well. So having Ben Morgan and Jonathan Kurt back, I think that's really, really big. That's a really good signing, actually, Charlie. Because of all the defensemen we do have who are top level, he kind of goes under the radar a bit.
The captain's back. They've got Ben Morgan and Kirk in their decor, two experienced boys. I'd be surprised if Mr. Sam Cooper wasn't back. And I'm sure they'll have
Turner as well.
shock. Pardon?
Turner as well.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have another shock signing as well. So I think yeah, I just wish Sheffield would hurry up with a bit more announcements.
They're spreading it out, and it keeps fans waiting.
And I'm bored. So
But Kirk
No,
is a big one though. He is a top defenseman. He
oh,
can play on that power play. He can play on the penalty kill as well. So that's a good signing. Charlie, finally, it's your boy Sue. Jake Sylvester. He's back for the Raiders. He is a goal scorer. He got 40. What was it? 40 plus goals last season, which is very, very good for a Brit forward. That's a really good re-signing to have, and he's a Romford boy as well. Well, he's not a Romford boy, he's a Chelmsford boy, but he's back with Romford.
yeah, I heard rumours he's going to go down a league, and I was like, well, that's a wasted talent. We need him in the National League, and he's back in the National League, and he's going to get stacks of minutes. He's going to be power play one. I'm sure he may have an import next to him or something. He's going to have some good fun next year, and he's going to be like we've said with Romford, the players who they keep, they're top end players. I think there's a bit more pressure on them to perform better this year and take up a higher responsibility role. So yeah, there'll be a big season for him, and I think it was a big re-signing for Lasham.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a top guy to come back. As you could probably tell, we're quite tired. Hello, it's just me, Jack. I've had to quickly hop back on because there's been a few signings since we recorded the pod yesterday. So it's literally just me talking about these three signings. Now, the first one is someone we've had on the podcast, Bailey Perry. He's re-signed with the Leeds Knights. It's actually quite interesting. He's on a two-way with the Leeds Knights Leeds Knights 1, who have just been accepted into the NIHL 1 North Division. So be interesting to see how many games he plays in that. I think he's more than capable to play in the NIHL in our league. He has done the last 2 seasons, and I think he's been solid for Leeds on their third line. And then if he's needed to step up, he's gone on their second line as well. So be interesting to see. Does that mean Leeds will bring another defenseman in if he's on a two-way? I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll have to see about that one. And yeah, I'm really happy for Bailey. He's a great lad and a good little young player as well. The next one was Lee Hayward is back to the Hull Seahawks. Well, obviously he was at the Hull Pirates. He's now back at the Hull Seahawks. That is a big sign. And obviously Tom Barry departed from the Hull Seahawks, and that is a massive replacement. Obviously Lee played with the Sheffield Steeldogs the last few seasons. He won the playoffs with them in that mega team. So yeah, that is a very big signing for Hull. That means they now have Barmer, Hayward, and Davy Phillips at the back with some of the younger boys like Stubley. So yeah, very interesting. And Callum McGill as well. So they're building a nice little decor in front of McLaughlin and Zamostra. So I think that was the main improvement from last season, is to build on their decor. Be interesting to see though. They've still got one more import slot. Will they be getting a defenseman, or will they go all out with another import forward, which means they'll have Svek, Sobchak, and this new import? So yeah, that'll be interesting, but a very solid ad. Lee Hayward, I put on the tweet on the Macca's Talk Hockey. He'll fit straight into that team with the likes of Barmer, Chamberlain, Bonner. They love winding up. If you've watched Lee Hayward, if you're a fan of a team who's not Lee Hayward's team, you probably get annoyed by what he does. He loves pushing after the whistle. So, yeah, he's definitely a player you'd love to have on your team, but hate to play against. And he just fits the whole Hull ethos, I think, being quite gritty and annoying. So, yeah, that is a great ad. And then the final one, this is an absolute stonking pickup by the Telford Tigers. They have got their first import, Devon Skoleski. He is a Canadian. He's in his prime. He's 26 years old, 5'11". He plays on the wing. He has played in the U Sports, and he has been getting a point per game in the U Sports. That is ridiculous. In his last season in the U Sports, 27 games, 11 goals, 16 assists, 27 points, a point per game. The season before that, he got 20 points in 17 games. This is an absolute great pickup from the Telford Tigers. He's a born point scorer. He played in the Finnish league last season as well. He got 7 points in 14 games. I think that's the second league of Finland. That is a very high standard league and a lot of defensive game in that league, and he still managed to pick up 7 points. And there's actually some draft prospects from the NHL who actually play in the Finnish 2 league. Some players who've been picked in like the 4th and 5th rounds. So yeah, he is going to be a stud. I'm calling it now. A lot of people are caught on to how much of a high level he's actually played and how much of a point scorer he is. So fair play to Tommy Watkins and Jason Silverthorne, who Charlie mentions, for picking that one out. And they've still got another couple imports to bring into that team. So yeah, the level of the league is going up. There's still quite a few more imports to be brought in within the teams in the league. So yeah, I'm so excited. I thought I'd have to pop on. We can't wait another whole week to then talk about these two signings. So yeah, those are the three little signings since we last recorded. And yeah, I hope you really enjoy the Tate Shudra interview. It is about to go to 11 o'clock, but yeah, Sylvester, what?
You missed in my opinion, I debatably say that it's top 3 news of when we've been away.
What's that?
You know, Dan?
Maybe.
Telford Tigers have
I know.
assistant coach, and I thought it was really nice to see. And I think it's actually going to be a big part of
Oh, yeah, sorry, I haven't got that written down.
Jason Silverthorne is now the assistant coach of the Telford Tigers, someone who knows the club in and out, who's worked under Tom Watkins for 6 seasons, I believe, who sadly had an injury which took him out of his career. But now they've got a coaching team with Tom Watkins and Elite League star Jason Silverthorne. I think that is a phenomenal coaching duo. And we already like Tom Watkins. Adding Jason Silverthorne to it is only going to improve.
Yeah, that is a very deadly managing call. Yeah, it's a shame actually got that injury because he, again, like Padalecki, is one of the legends of our league, and but he'll love being back. I'm sure he couldn't get away. I'm not sure if his kids play hockey. His kids might play hockey or learning to play hockey as well. So Telford ain't a bad place. What's that? Sorry.
I'm sure they do play hockey.
Yeah, they've got to be playing hockey, but it's nice to see him back within the National League, and him. They're going to be some duo, aren't they? Right. Let's get on to the interview then. We've got an interview with Tate Shudra, which we're filming tomorrow, but I'm sure it's going to be a cracker. He's excited to come on. So yeah, we'll be talking about the Sheffield Steeldogs and the Steelers combination and what the future's looking like for Tate Shudra. So yeah, we'll cut to the interview now. Hello and welcome back. We've got another special interview. Charlie, do you want to introduce him?
Yes, we would like to welcome onto the podcast today, a 19-year-old two-way forward. He loves to throw the body. He's already had his first fight, and he has signed on a two-way with the Sheffield Steelers and the Sheffield Steeldogs this year, a part of their new system. We would like to welcome onto the podcast Tate Shudra. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thank you, guys. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How's the off season go? Have you managed to get some sessions back on the ice?
I've had a few, not as many as I wanted. I've got quite a hefty full-time job that's not let me get there recently, but yeah, I've had a few.
Oh, nice one. And so yeah, talk us through how did the deal come around with the Sheffield Steeldogs and the Sheffield Steelers? Obviously, you played for the Steeldogs last season.
Yeah, it was in the talks for quite a bit of the season, the previous season, and I knew it was once the Steelers got like a hold of bought the Steeldogs, I knew I wanted to eventually get to the Steelers and obviously move to the Dogs and whatnot, play at the Dogs, prove my worth. Deal sort of came around, spoke to the owners towards the end of the season. They said, "Yeah, we want to offer you a two-way contract with the Steelers." Aaron Fox is happy with you. He's impressed with what he sees so far. He knows you can definitely improve a lot, but he knows that you can improve. Like some people, like they know they can, but they can't. That he can see that I am always improving, so he wants to work with me more closely, so that two-way will allow him to do that.
Yeah. What does the two-way include? So what kind of because we haven't really been told too much. Obviously, it's the first kind of real big two-way we've seen between the Steelers and the Steeldogs. So what kind of stuff does this two-way include?
Training with them on the ice, off the ice, in the gym with them. Just sort of everything you'd expect from an actual two-way. Obviously, it's more of a full-time thing. But yeah, so I'll be working a lot harder, playing ice hockey a whole lot more, in the gym a whole lot more. So it'll be good. It'll be very good for me.
I think it's almost the perfect kind of system for a young lad like yourself because you get to be on the ice more. Because I think that's quite a big problem, which has been the past few years. The youngsters just need to play more, and I think this could be the perfect kind of system for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's definitely what we need, especially with ice hockey being so niche in this country. So it's quite a small sport. You've not got many up and comers, so when they come around, it's good to get hold of them and get them to the highest level training with them.
Yeah.
I know a few younger guys, people younger than me that are getting towards there, getting towards that level, and it'd be great to see them eventually prove their worth and step up.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I've managed to get the opportunity this season. So I'm just going to try and prove myself a little bit more. Maybe even sit on the bench for one game, see it up close and up personal. That'll be a good experience. But I'll just take what I get for now.
Yeah.
As a youngster, because as we were saying, it's quite a unique experience for us fans. It's the first club we've really had which is kind of affiliated as not a feeder club, but you know what I mean, a club which is going to help develop talents. What excites you as a young 19-year-old player about this, and why do you think it will benefit you the most?
It actually creates more competition at the Steeldogs. We've got so many players on two ways with the Steelers now. We're all sort of fighting that we can all prove ourselves. We all want to play on a higher line at the Steeldogs, as well as prove to Aaron if you have injuries and you need people to replace, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
I'm the person you put in. And obviously, I've got people like Nathan Ripley and Finn Ulrich I've got a battle. So that'll be a pretty tough one. But I'm just gonna do what I can, just keep proving myself, and it's pretty exciting. But yeah.
What for you as a player, obviously the fans can say what they want, but obviously there's been quite a few two ways, and as you mentioned a couple there, Ripley and Ulrich. What's it like as a player? Does it almost motivate you more to try and, as you said, prove that you can play at that top level over them?
Yeah, it's definitely a motivating factor for me. I'm a very competitive person. I've always been overly competitive, so it's definitely a big motivator. Obviously, they've had that experience in the elite league already, quite a lot of it too. So I know they're going to be two main guys that we want to be called on. So I've just got to prove that I can do a job just as well as they can, and it'll be a tough one to prove, but just keep working. I'm not expecting it in this year. Probably not even expecting it next 2 years. I'm just going to stay and graft really as much as it takes, and do what I can to get there eventually.
Yeah, because the NIHL is still a good level. Go on, Charlie.
So let's take it back a little bit. I think it's fair to say ice hockey's in your blood, in your
family.
Tell us a bit about that for the people who don't know.
Well, obviously, my dad played in the NHL when he was younger, just a few games, and then came over and made a name for himself with the Steelers. Then just stayed here. Had my brother, my sister, and me. We all were really into ice hockey. Obviously, my brother being the oldest. Then him getting opportunity at the Steelers at I think it was 17, 16, 17, 18. And then I had my sister, who honestly for a young woman was an incredible ice hockey player. She was GB, she was England, like women's, she was playing high level. She was honestly incredibly good. Probably the scariest out of all three of us, and probably still is. So I had a lot to look up to, and also compare myself to, which I don't like other people comparing me to them, but I always compare myself to them.
Yeah,
I always will, because they're my brother, my sister, my older siblings. You're always going to try and fight against them, aren't you?
Yeah,
it's just what you do as siblings.
What's it like being the younger brother then? Obviously, you've obviously, I'm guessing you've had your dad's influence on hockey, your brothers as well. What's it like being that younger brother who's, I guess, still coming up the ranks?
It's a bittersweet. So it's really nice the fact that my like I get loads of this advice from my brother, my dad. Like I also get to watch my brother do better. My dad has now got to watch both of us. But the better part is being the younger brother. Everyone's sort of like when I moved to Leeds originally, everyone was like, "Oh, it's because of your brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Like your brother was there. That's why you weren't there. Like it's your brother." It really wasn't. Uh, the reason why I actually went there was Dave Whistle asked my brother about anyone. He said to give me a try. I went
Yeah.
and proved myself in training, then went and proved myself in a game, and he kept me. Um, but so that's the better part, having everyone say like, "Oh, you're only making it because of your brother and your dad,"
Yeah.
uh, which hurts a lot. But just gotta try and make your own name, haven't you? Like, I play differently, I skate differently,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, shoot differently. A whole personality, just like of ice hockey is completely different. Just trying to make my own name.
Yeah, you are, I think, a different player to your brother, and I think you mentioned that season with Leeds. You actually did get a few points that season at just 17, 18 years old. Do you want to talk us through that experience? And obviously, that was the first, I think, the first season where Leeds actually won the league.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. I would say I wasn't getting loads of ice time, but I wasn't expecting that. Just sort of whenever I got on the ice, it was like nervous on the boards, shaky knees, like just you're 1 second slower in all your reactions to things. But as I progressed and got on during the season, I found myself getting used to the pace, and as I got used to the pace, I started being able to predict things and
Yeah.
make better plays on the wall. Getting used to that strength against people. I managed to have wrestle against a few guys, like some older, tougher guys,
Yeah.
and just feeling around the body, getting on the puck more. I just started building up experience, and it honestly just loved it.
It
Just
was
loved
kind of
all
your
of it.
first taste of the National League, wasn't it? And what a
Yeah,
team to do it with Leeds. How was that playoff experience? Obviously, the Knights winning the playoffs. You were playing on the same team as your brother as well.
yeah. It was a really amazing experience. Like just being a part of it all. Like even in the room beforehand, like you can just feel the excitement in the air. Like you could tell some nerves were there for a few of the guys,
Yeah.
but like you could just sense like the excitement of everyone to just get out and play in that because we knew we were the best team. We knew we were the best team there. We knew what we had to do to win, but we also knew it wasn't going to be easy. So just getting out there and uh, you could just see the excitement on everyone's face, like the eager to
Yeah.
get going.
Yeah,
Go on, Charlie.
I have to ask. This did make me laugh. You played one game in the National League the year before, if Elite Prospects is right, and you played for Milton Keynes and got a goal. How did that come around? Your one goal
Uh,
game
I,
in the 21-22 season.
I actually played a lot more for Leeds that season. So I I played one. So I was my first ever senior season, and I was playing for under 18s, my
Yeah.
under 18s in Sheffield, playing for NIHL two Titans. I was
Oh
playing
my
for
days, yeah.
NIHL one Scimitars. Um, I was playing for all those three teams, and
Captain of
when
Sheffield as well.
when COVID was still happening, about 12 Milton Keynes guys all had COVID. They couldn't play. Uh,
I remember that actually, yeah.
yeah, and I got asked to play against the Dogs because I just played the game before, um, and I got asked to play. So I just went and played, and shot came in from the point, and I just someone got a tip on it, and I got another tip on it, and just trickled through the goalie's legs. So
Scoring
uh,
against Sheffield.
I really wasn't complaining about that one. But yeah, and then after that, Dave Whistle, obviously, like I started playing for the Knights as a 16-year-old. And then the season after with Ryan. So all just sort of like building up on top of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so that season you were actually a goal a game in the league for Milton Keynes Lightning.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Yeah,
That is
so
so
you
interesting.
also played for the under 20 GB team last season when you were at the Knights. How did that come around? And that was your first GB taste. And what was it like?
I mean, it's GB, isn't it? Like, it's just any GB experience is probably the greatest experience you'll ever get in the
Yeah.
sport. Just playing international, like the team building, like all the teamwork and all everything you do as a team, like you're never without each other. You're always with the boys. Like,
Yeah.
you eat together, you share rooms. You like when it's your time on your own, you're in each other's room playing like cards and like messing about and stuff like that. Then bus together, train together, everything. You're never apart. So you really get some good bonds going while you're there. So it's incredible. And then just wearing the jersey itself, like uh, just looking down at your shirt and just seeing GB just has to be the greatest experience you could ever feel. Like just the feeling, like the emotion you feel
Yeah.
is just it overcomes you.
And obviously your brother got his I think it was his first opportunity at the major championships, and it's taken his time to get there, and I think he's worked really hard to hard to get there because I think he's 25 now. I'm sure you were watching the games. What was it like watching him against some of those Canadian players?
Yeah, it was definitely a show. Just reading some of the names on the jerseys of the Canadian players and just watching my brother line up against them. You're like, how is this even fair? Like my brother's a good ice hockey player, but like, come on, he's stood next to Connor Bedard right now, man. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
It was just so weird. It was so great to see him there because he's worked so hard for it,
Yeah.
and he truly deserves it. But when you line up against people like that, it's like, what's even going on?
And then GB took the lead, didn't they? Kirky obviously
Yeah.
getting that goal. What was it like last season then? Because it was quite a difficult season for the Steeldogs. They had the changeover with the owners, but I think you were consistent within the team throughout the year. And you got quite a lot of minutes with some of the guys. So how did you find last season?
Yeah, so as a team, we struggled. You know, it was like a bit of ownership
Hmm.
issues for some of the guys. You know, some personal things that are getting in the way. Quite
Yeah.
a lot of injuries. I got injured twice in the season. I had a concussion and I had a bad ankle injury.
Yeah.
So you know, we had quite a few knocks. Just it really affected team morale. Um, yeah, individually, other than the injuries, I was getting. I originally came in on fourth line, which I
Yeah.
knew. I was on a two-way with Blackburn Hawks,
Yeah, I saw
getting
that, yeah.
getting like 30, 35 minutes a game over there. It was ridiculous. I was basically never off the ice. Scoring left, right, and centre in that league. Um, and then obviously I went to the Dogs, was fourth line, scored my first game in pre-season,
Remember that?
breakaway.
Yeah.
Uh,
I remember seeing that on Twitter.
yeah, it was my first game for the Dogs, scored and got bumped up to third, and then stayed there consistently, getting 10, 11, 12 minutes a game the rest of the season, moved full-time, obviously. Then when injuries came around and bans and things, I got a chance to play, you know, power play, penalty kill,
Yeah.
second line, first line, like playing with like Bissonnette and Huey and
Oh,
those guys, like it. And all of a sudden I was playing 10, 11 minutes a game to playing 28 minutes a game.
yeah.
Like as a 18, 19-year-old, you're like, what's, what, why is this happening? But I just took it on. I loved all of it. I was so tired uh, every game, and like, I just missed that feeling because obviously when you've come from somewhere like Leeds, where I was only getting maybe 4 minutes a game if I was lucky, 5 minutes a game, to then regular shift on the third line, to then even more regular shift on first, second line, power play, penalty kill,
Yeah.
everything within a season. You know, like it was just a great feeling to be able to prove myself at that level and score a few goals, get some nice assists. And what I was even happy about, like I didn't have, I didn't have a 20 goal season. I didn't have a 10 goal season. I had, I think, 6 maybe in the regular
Yeah,
season.
11 points. Yeah.
But I was just scoring nice goals.
Yeah.
I was happy about it. I was scoring some good goals, but one thing I honestly really want to improve on is not scoring those nice goals. Like, being able to score them is perfect, but the ratty goals is where
Yeah.
everything comes from.
Yeah.
Just drive the net and smashing it off the goalie's pads, and it somehow bounces in off of 3 people. Things like random things like that. I just
Yeah.
need to work on my aggression, like getting to that area, staying in that area, fighting for it all. Which I already have quite a bit of it, but like I'm going to compare myself to my brother. When you look at my brother, and he goes out and he makes 4 shifts, like a shift, 4 shifts, 4 hits a shift.
Yeah.
It's just like I need to get like to that. Like I'm just trying to lift people's sticks. Like I'll play the body and I'll hit, but not to the level where I'm happy. So that's definitely a big thing I'm going to work on. Like
It's all
just
part
go
of the
out.
it's all part of the improvement, isn't it?
Yeah,
What kind of player would you say you are then for the people who some new hockey fans and some Sheffield Steelers fans as well?
I'd say I utilize my speed. I'm a big body, but I'm definitely a very fast skater.
Yeah.
I've always been one of the fastest skaters. So I use that, and I've managed to get my stick handling up to the point where I can actually stick handle and skate at the same time. At my fastest speed, I've got I won't say a weird shot release. I'll say a unique shot release. So I've managed to instead of just you're playing old wrist shot, like a few different releases, like
Yeah.
hands high up, like just different weird things that goalies don't really expect you to shoot from and
Absolutely.
shoot off of, and being able to shoot, with a bit of power and accuracy, with those weird shots, really makes a difference. Like making a goalie think you're going one way, but already it's already gone the other way.
Yeah.
So I've managed to deceive quite a few goalies with that already in the National League. So I'd say I'm more of a player like that, but I'm working on getting to the point where I'm relying on using my body and because I'm a big frame, I'm quite a big frame, so I need to start relying on that.
Yeah.
And you were talking about learning to score them ratty goals and stuff like that. I love a rat, me, but what players in that Sheffield Steeldogs team last year, maybe some who have re-signed this year, have been a big influence on you throughout the season, helping you when maybe you weren't as confident or whatever?
Definitely Jonathan Phillips. Like he's always going to be someone who does that, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like just he'll see you working on something immediately. He's stood next to you, like helping you. Doesn't matter who it is on the ice, where it is. He's always done that. I went up to Bissonnette and Huey a lot and asked for advice. Even people on like defense, so like Jonathan Kurtz and JK and Lee Haywood, people like that. Like I'd go up to the Morgs especially as well.
Yeah.
Like just people who've got some good words and good word advice to give you. And then you've got your people who like you just their play style.
Yeah.
You sort of want to not copy, but like use as well, like learn off of. Pick. So like even people like Charlie Thompson, watching how he just gets in there. He's relentless. He's ridiculous how relentless he is. Like just to be able to be like that and just have that mindset, to just not stop. Like I need if I can use that with all the things that I've been learning across the season, like I'll there's no stopping me at this point. Like I just love ice hockey. I'm just gonna do what I can to play at the highest level I can.
I'm assuming you support the Oilers because your dad was drafted by them. Is there any players you look up to in the NHL which you like watching?
Obviously, you've got your McDavid for your skating. Everything. You're stupid not to look up to him. But honestly, like people like Austin Matthews and even Panarin, like
Panarin,
just different shot types. Like
Yeah.
the way they shoot. Even Nathan McKinnon, the way like his big, like obviously he's a lot bigger bodied. His really powerful crossovers into a like changing the angle of his shot by like 6-7 feet in like the space of a second. The goalie can't even react to it. Things like that. I just look up to. Like, I just look for the little things like that most people don't notice. Like, oh, he's just done a crossover and took a shot. Like, how's the goalie not saved that? But like, it's just how he's manipulated the goalie within half a second, and the goalie didn't realize it. It's just like just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So I look up to things like that, and I always look out for things like that.
Have you managed to go and watch a few NHL games?
Sadly, not.
Really?
So no, I've never been over to Canada to during the season to be able to go watch one.
Oh,
Yeah, because you play well.
Really, pardon?
You play while the season's on, don't you? So you
yeah.
can't just leave.
Yeah, so it's pretty tough. Like obviously, really, really want to go watch one, and it's like my dream to watch an NHL game. Uh, Ron, my dad, was actually really lucky. He managed to get over in playoffs and watch an Edmonton playoff game.
Did he?
So I
Oh,
was
I'm
quite
so
jealous of him.
jealous.
Yeah, he managed to go watch one.
So
So
I
I was
went to
pretty jealous of
Edmonton.
him.
I went to Edmonton a few months ago and watched a few games, and it's just different out there, man. It's so
Oh yeah,
different.
everything's different.
Does your dad have any funny stories from obviously playing in that season? Because he played with Gretzky, didn't he?
And that centre,
He did, yeah,
And Messier.
Messi, that's mental. Two of the greats.
yeah. I think he's not really told me many. I think the one he told me sort of when he first walked into the locker room, and he sat down next to Messier, and Messier just started having a regular conversation with him. Like it's like I've watched you play on TV for however long and looked up to you, and now I'm just having a regular conversation with you. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's ridiculous,
Like,
isn't it?
that's probably the one story he's probably told me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask this. This might sound like a really stupid question. Obviously, you're wearing glasses. Do you have to wear contact lenses during a game? And do they
Yeah.
fall out during a game when you're doing hits and stuff? Because I've worn them before and they fall out sometimes.
Uh, Sometimes they fall out, but I've got a whole stash in
Yeah.
my shower bag, so I just grab another one if they fall out. But they haven't fallen out in quite a while.
Okay.
I've actually got quite bad eyesight, so yeah, I definitely need the. I've played without them in before as a bit of a joke. Could not see the puck at all. Even when it was on my own stick, I could barely see it. It was just a blob. But yeah,
Yeah, Charlie's a bit blind. I know I've got glasses as well. Go
Mate,
on, Charlie.
call me blind, yeah. Just to let you know, Detroit Red Wings have just signed Tarasenko. But
Oh,
besides,
wow.
what are your goals going into the next season? Like as you said, you kind of want to make sure that you basically, from what you said, you want to make sure that people recognize you in the Steelers and the Steel Dog system. But have you got any like point goals or team goals, or you know what I mean?
everyone's got their own personal point goal. Like uh, when I first joined, it was like when I first joined Leeds, like when I was 16, it was score a goal.
Yeah.
And it was the season after it was get 5 points. The dog season just then it was get 10 points, which I managed to get just.
Nice. Yeah.
I think this season I'm gonna try and get just a 10 goal season.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
See if I can improve. It's 4 more goals, so it's not in like a vast increase, but if I can get that plus keep my 5 assists, it's a 15-point season. If I can get more assists, it's a 20-point season.
Yeah.
Like in the season after that, I might up it even more, like depending on how I'm doing and how I'm improving.
Yeah.
How my coaches see how I'm done. So that's my personal like point goal. I'd say personal like skills. I'd say probably just my aggression, which I know is not something you can really work on, but it's just sort of like getting stuck in more. Like
Yeah.
instead of thinking I can try and take this puck here, it's just thinking I'm just going to hit this guy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hit him. Go in there. I'm just going to get the puck off him by laying the body instead of trying to lift his stick. Instead of being that skill guy that tries to like do the fancy stuff, just lay the body.
Yeah.
Lay the body, tire them out, get the puck that way.
People.
Obviously, Sheffield's probably the biggest rink. Well, for me, it's probably the biggest rink to look at, and using your speed and obviously skill set which you have, do you think that will benefit you a lot this season playing again in Sheffield?
Yeah, I love playing in Sheffield. It's my favourite rink. Like everyone says, like, oh, I like going to Leeds. It's smaller, I don't have to skate as far. I love Sheffield. It's such a big rink, and
It's
even
so
rinks
good.
like
It's my favorite.
Milton Keynes, like just it's so big, and I've got so much time to get going, like my legs to get going. By the time I'm full speed, I'm on the red line instead of the hash marks.
Yeah.
So I just get so much more space and freedom, and I can wheel around more in the zone. It's harder in your defensive zone, I have to admit, but
Yeah.
I've played there since I was 4.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty used to it by now. Or you'd like to think I am. So yeah.
As a young, I got another question. As a young player, is it quite hard to adjust to the different rink sizes and the different places to play? Because you go from playing in a Sheffield rink to playing in Slough, and you almost have to adapt slightly the way you play. So what is it like trying to do that as a young player?
Originally, it was hard. I could not do it. I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, just thinking to myself as I was 17, like, how am I going to keep going? I have to change how I play so much. When obviously in juniors you don't change how you play. Like when you're on a team like Sheffield, you just score and you win, and that's basically all it is. You just skate with the puck. But now I've got to like change the strategy of the entire team to mold the rink as well as the players, as well as how the goalie moves and the PK and the power play. And you're just like, okay, hang on a second, let's just slow down a minute. And then you got rinks like Peterborough where the boards are like this and the ice is like this. It's a bit crazy. But yeah, no, I feel it. Originally, it was hard to adapt to, but now that I've done it, I'm going into my 4th season in this league now. At 19, turning 20, it's like I'm definitely used to it now. Like just how I have to play differently.
Yeah. Charlie, have you got any more questions?
I was just gonna ask, from maybe it's always been a thing. You in your academy days destroyed. Like you get like 2 points, 2 points, 3 points a game. How do you think it would be more beneficial for you in your younger years? Would it be playing in more of a competitive? What do you think English ice hockey could do to benefit the competitiveness more? I know it's a tough question.
No, you're good. You're good. It is hard because you've got the North leagues and the South leagues. The South leagues are vastly more competitive.
Yeah.
Because there's a higher range of players there. Here you've got players in Sheffield and you've got players in Nottingham, and that's about it.
Yeah.
You've got some players in Hull, but everywhere else, like there's a very small amount of people that actually want to play ice hockey. So on that side, there's not much we can do. But in terms of ice availability, like as a junior, I was getting one ice session a week.
Yeah.
It's not enough. Like you can't improve with an hour a week.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
I actually went to Nottingham for 1 season, and I realised why Nottingham have always been such a powerful team. Like you can get on the ice for so many, like 6, 7, 8 hours a week instead of at Sheffield you get one.
Really?
Like, you've got 18s, like, oh yeah, jump on the 16 session before. Why don't you like jump on that one? Oh, 20s are training after that. Oh, you got seniors after that. Just jump on them. Just go jump on them. And it's like all of a sudden you've done 4 hours in one day. You're absolutely exhausted, but you've just worked yourself so hard compared to the 1 hour.
Yeah.
So that really helped me. But like going back to Sheffield and all of a sudden I could train with the seniors. That season where I was playing for 4 teams, I was training every single day and playing 3 to 4 games a weekend. So that I played nearly 70 odd games that season at 16. So that definitely made me a better player. But I was tired.
Yeah, just to like summarize that, because I think sometimes it's easy for English fans just to watch. and like not understand. But I think it's so difficult for some British youngsters because, like you said, it's very difficult to develop on one game a week and one training session a week.
Yeah.
And I think it's important and I think the Steel Dog Steelers system is going to help, hopefully, to build a proper pathway from age 10 to 20 getting into the main teams.
Yeah, it definitely will. Like, people only see like, oh, Steelers and Steel Dogs have now got a thing going like with two ways. But what they don't see is that our under 18s are now training with our Titans, the NHL 2 team, and the NHL 1 team.
Wow, yeah.
Our NIHL 2 guys can now train with NHL 1, NHL 1 can train with NIHL, NIHL can train with the Steelers, and it's just a whole chain. That's just going to, and our under 16s will be able to train with, I think they'll even be able to train with NIHL 2 now, once they're 15. So they're now getting chances to train at senior when you're 15.
Wow,
Rather than it being, oh, well, you're 17, well, here's your first senior game. You've not trained with us yet. Here's your first game. And then you go and get injured because you haven't got a clue what's going on. It's practically a bear league. But yeah, it's just a whole chain now that people haven't recognised, that we probably should have promoted more. But yeah, it's a good chain.
Charlie, Charlie, go on. You always end with this question.
What is your message? Because I think we're going to advertise this to Steelers fans as well as Steel Dog fans, to the Sheffield fan base.
My message?
Yeah, like from Tate Shudra.
I hope I can prove myself to you guys. Play hard, and hopefully can help the team in any way I can to get into that top part of the league for the Steel Dogs. And if I ever get a chance to play for the Steelers this season, if I manage to get on the ice, I can just do what I can, even if it's just getting the puck in deep for our top guys.
Yeah.
So if you're a Steelers fan and you're listening, drop down to the Steel Dog games, watch the Steel Dogs, watch talented players like Tate. Enjoy the system you got in Sheffield, and I think Sheffield Steel Dogs look like they're going to have a fun team next year, full of a lot of amazing.
We definitely will.
I don't know any more signings, but I can imagine there's some exciting talent to come through and still to be announced. So Sheffield hockey, it probably is the most buzzing in England right now.
How quickly as well, how nice is it to have Kirk back as well? I forgot to mention it, but how nice is it to have him back as captain for this season? Obviously, you got Morgs as the player coach as well, so two veteran guys who's gonna kind of help the youth players coming in for these 2 ways.
It's honestly perfect. Like, JK's like, he's not the loudest guy, but just in the room, like now that he was captain last season, he spoke up a lot more. Like just telling other guys how to be in the room, how to act, how they should be on the ice. But when he's on the ice, he's not very talkative. But when you watch him, he's just so descriptive, just in the way he plays.
Yeah,
like he doesn't do much wrong. Like when he makes a mistake, he doesn't come out to the bench like everyone else goes, "Oh, sorry guys." Like he knows he's made a mistake.
Yeah,
and he knows that he's like hurt the team a little bit with that one mistake, even if it was just missing a pass. He takes quite a heavy burden, but he's not the loudest guy. But he just shows how you should be with how he plays.
Yeah.
So he's great to have back, and Morgs as the player coach. Well, you need him on the ice. Like he's such a big character on the ice. You need him there. And in the room, he was the loudest voice. He was always the motivator. He always spoke before, during, and after a game. Steve Weeks would, give Morgs a section of the talk, like the coach's talk, to give to us. Then he'd stand up and give us his talk, and it was always a good. Like he always motivated you, and he's so. I don't even know what the word is. Like he's so good with words. Like he doesn't he just tells everything perfectly. I'm not great at my words. because what ice hockey player is. Morgs is he's just so loud the way he does things in the room, like with his voice, how he plays, how he lives his life, like just everything. Like he's just someone you look up to, really.
Yeah. It's going to be a good little season, I think, for you boys, and the fact you guys have got stuff to prove as well, and these two ways, and you want to impress. And I really do hope that, as Charlie said, a lot of these Steeler fans come and watch the Steel Dogs game because of this two-way system. When Steelers have an away game, say in Scotland, and they can't go to it, so I really hope you're able to fill that barn a lot more, because it's my favourite rink actually to go and watch hockey. So yeah, good luck next season, Tate. Thank you very much for hopping on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll be watching you next season, and good luck. Hopefully you can hit your goal marks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tate, for hopping on. We really hope you've enjoyed that interview. Big future ahead of him. That is all the signings from the last couple weeks. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. We are absolutely shattered now. It's coming up to 11 o'clock. We've been speaking for over an hour. This episode's going to be one of our longer ones. So, Charlie, anything else to add?
No. Apart from
he's staying quiet this time. Nice one. Dan, anything else to add on this?
Just T.J. Anderson needs to get better at NHL.
A little chirp at TJ Anderson. But yeah, we'll get some more interviews out. We have got a big one coming up soon. I'm not going to release who it is yet, but that is just going to be a single episode, just the interview itself, because we are expecting it to be a long one. Not too long until we start our team specials, because the lineups and the rosters are certainly bolstering up. So, we hope you enjoyed this episode. It's nice to be back as the trio, and we'll get posted next week as well. Hopefully there'll be some interviews and news to talk about. So, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.